Good morning everyone. Gandang umaga sa inyo. So this is just the continuation of our discussion about standards as part of our discussion in target setting. Yan, so first we have discussed already the concept of the standards. So we have answered this question last time about what do we mean by standards. So technically standards are established norms or benchmarks for learning that define what the students need to know and understand. So we also discuss the difference between outcomes-based education, mastery-based education, at the same time the standards-based education. So first thing is we're going to talk about the standards-based classroom instruction. So it's written here that when we say standards-based classroom instruction, these are the benefits. So technically, if we're using it, we can achieve these standards by using content as the vehicle. So we are using content itself as the vehicle, not using some kind of activity as a means to achieve the ends, which is the learning of our students. It also uses a student-centered approach, meaning when we use standards-based education, we are focusing on the needs of our students. It focuses on helping students meet the standards at the same time. So we have the concept ng scaffolding. So when target setting or when we're setting our targets, our standards, we're supposed to look at the utilization of the concept of scaffolding where we're going to use or we're going to be present during the entire process of the teaching and learning process where the students are supposed to be learning along with us as teachers, and technically they cannot learn it on their own. Another one is it ensures alignment of instructional plan, assessment, and instruction with the standards. So technically, before we're going to start with our lesson objectives, with our lessons, with our learning contents and the learning assessments, we're going to look at the standards first, whether they are um, content standards, competency standards, or performance standards. Another one is it emphasizes on what students will be able to know and understand and do. So technically, this is the concept of writing your lesson plans from the very learning objectives to sharing these learning objectives to the students to make them learning targets where the students are more committed and are more reliant on their own selves about the relationship of the learning content to the learning targets. At the same time, its relationship to assessment. Another one is it implements standards that are observable and measurable. So technically, when we say observable and measurable, these are um, the standards or the objectives which are considered as SMART. So specific, measurable, attainable, realistic or relevant, tsaka time-bounded. So these objectives are observable in a way that they could be measured. At the same time, they could be seen, they could be evaluated, and uh, they could be assessed by the teachers and the students themselves. It also embeds assessment of the attainment of the standards in instructional strategies. So technically, when you say embed assessment of the attainment, it's some kind of the overall statement that when you are sharing your objectives to the students, it's actually embedded there that we're not going to look to proceed with the next lesson without using this teaching strategy to attain these sets of standards. Another one is it makes big ideas and enduring understanding act as an umbrella for the content. So when we say big ideas as an umbrella for the content, it's some kind of we're just breaking down all the concepts of greater content or bigger content, bigger ideas into the content of the lesson itself. So technically, it's like this. When you are discussing some particular lesson, you are one lesson, you can construct two or three objectives there where you're going to focus on the cognitive, psychomotor, and affective domain. So these are sets of standards that we can use in delivering the lesson. So try to look at or try to study this set of icons and image here. So on the right, we have what is standards-based assessment. So technically, there are different sets of animals there, but it boils down to the concept that if you're going to judge a fish by its ability to climb the tree, the fish will grow up thinking he's an idiot or something like they cannot perform well or they cannot perform at all. So the idea is helping students have self-concept through reflective thinking and activities. So some kind of when you use standards pala, technically we are supposed to be using reflective thinking. So meaning we are supposed to ask questions to the students such as this: Am I learning in the best way for me? What are my strengths and weaknesses? What can I remember and understand? Where do I have to focus my revisions? What are my targets? Another one is, okay, what are my targets? So technically, these are the standards, these are the objectives that we just have shared to our students. Another one, how am I doing? What is really making me think? How will I know if my work is good? And what do I need to do to improve? Another one is how am I going to make this improvement? So some kind of reflective questions which are considered as metacognition or metacognitive processes. So we have here another checklist about assessment in the classroom, which is aimed at helping students perform well in relation to the learning standards. So the idea is um, we are denormalizing or debunking the concept of the normal curve where the students are supposed to be distributed evenly or normally in a way that it looks like the bell curve in the normal distribution table. However, the idea is in terms of assessment, we are supposed to be helping the students perform better or perform best or perform at their maximum or optimum performance. Learning standards comprise content standards, performance standards, and learning competencies that are outlined in the curriculum. So when we say outlined in the curriculum, these are already given in the curriculum. Again, the curriculum is the list of learning activities, list of the the learning experiences that the students are supposed to be learning, including the hidden curriculum as well. We have here sample content standards. So we have here content is the animal. Content standards is the learner demonstrate understand. The learner demonstrates understanding of external parts and functions, uses of animals, and the proper ways of caring for pets and farm animals. So the performance standard here is that the learner demonstrates proper ways of caring for animals, and the learning competencies are the following. So learning competencies are the ones you are putting into to action or putting into your including in your learning objectives. So from the content standards you have there, develop the performance standards and the learning competencies. The learning competencies are the ones you are including in your learning objectives. Okay? So this is a sample curriculum guide used in the K to 12 system grade school. So content standards meaning these are some kind of standards that cover a specified scope of sequential topics within each learning strand, domain, theme, or component. And at the same time, content standards answer the question of what should the learners know. So what should the learners know? That's the content standards, which is packed or rather uh, delimited into performance standards which are supposed to be observable and measurable, and you can achieve that performance standards by putting or chunking this performance standards into learning competencies competencies such as this: describes or draws animals found in the immediate environment, labels the external parts of animals, observes and asks questions about the function of the external parts of animals, and so on. So the learning competencies here are the ones you are inputting in your learning objectives, which are supposed to be based on the content. So technically, these are already here. You can already use this as your learning objectives when you're writing your lesson plans. So yung sabi ko sa inyong anong nakaraan na when you're writing your lesson plans, it's not in a way that you are doing it bottom up. Yeah, I mean top down na what you understand about the topic are supposed to be the ones you are teaching the students. It's not like that because the curriculum guide has been already established and polished already, where you can use it as part of or as a basis in writing your lesson plans. Another one here, performance standards. So the same, from the concept ng content to content standards to performance standards to learning competencies. So we have here performance standards answer the following. What can learners do with what they know? How well must learners do their work? How well do learners use their learning or understanding in different situations? How do learners apply their learning or understanding in real life context? And what tools and measures should learners use to demonstrate what they know? So technically, it's like, how are you going to measure what the students know? Kasi the concept ng content standards is it answers the question of what the students should know at the end of the lesson. Ngayon, how are you going to measure this learning? You have to devise a way that you can put these content standards into performance standards, which are supposed to be measurable and observable at the same time. The last one here is how we are unpacking this curriculum from content to learning competencies. Kasi learning competencies here refers to the knowledge, understanding, skills, and attitudes that the students need to demonstrate in every lesson and or learning activity. So in a way, um, when we are writing or developing our lesson plans, we have the topic, then consult the curriculum guide. Kasi there is a content standard there is a performance standard at the same time. And also, there are learning competencies initially drafted there na for us is yeah, teachers in the making. So if you're going to teach the concept or your topic rather in K to 12 science as animals, you can choose from the learning competencies as your learning objectives already. These are the ones you are going to use as your learning objectives. So we have here the framework about how the curriculum is standards from or rather the framework of using standards-based education. Technically, it's the standards-based curriculum where if it's a standards-based curriculum, you have curriculum standards. So sa curriculum standards, you have standards-based assessment. At the same time, you have instructions aligned to curriculum standards. So everything that we're going to talk about is standards-based education are aligned with the curriculum, which is considered as standards-based. So we have here the curriculum standards are subdivided into two or unpack into two, the content and the performance standards, where you're going to formulate your learning competencies and learning objectives. So we also have here a framework about the holistic development of the 21st century students or learners, particularly with their skills. They have effective communication skills, information, media, and technology skills, learning and innovation skills, life and career skills, which are supposed to be developed from higher education, middle level skills development, entrepreneurship, tsaka towards employment. So this is how standards-based education is supposed to be implemented from kinder to senior high school up to the higher education down to employment. So here is an example of a curriculum guide in English. We have the domains of literacy. We have listening comprehension. Then we have the content standards. And then we have performance standards. And then the learning competencies. Ngayon we have here Note here that I mean we have here the concept that it's one content is standard per quarter, and then one performance is standard per quarter, and then there are learning competencies per quarter. And then for another quarter, there is another content is standard and another performance is standard and another set of learning competencies. So ibig sabihin, there is a learning guide na pwede nating i-consult kapag gumagawa tayo ng mga lesson plans basta kinder to grade 12 sections yung handle natin. Whatever subject is there are content standards, performance standards, and learning competencies already drafted. So here are sample learning competencies or LCs in grade 9 module in English. We have here. May code dyan, may code. So the learning competencies are coded. This was initiated in order to identify learning competencies that are connected and exhibited spiral progression. So from kinder to grade 10. These LCs bear the same code number. This is also connected to the creation of the LRMDS or the Learning Resource Management and Development System. So these are coded. So later on, whenever you are going to see EN9RC-IA-16, the learning competency is one, share prior knowledge about a text topic. We also have we also have all right, so these are the types of standards that we're going to use in assessing our students, particularly or technically in assessing our students' learning. We have the content standards and the performance standards. And these are the questions we have asked kanina. What are the students supposed to know? That's the content. And how will they use this? How meaning it's a behavioral measure, so meaning it's about how the students will be performing. It's a performance standards. So how are we going to use this standards-based education in terms of teaching and assessment or instruction and assessment? So we have here, there is an arrow from instruction to assessment, which is like a cycle na pabalik ulit sa instruction. We have here the idea of standards. We have content, we have performance, and we have the formation of standards na becoming. So content standards is what the students know. Performance standards, how the students will use what they know, and the formation standards meaning how are they going to become or what are they going to learn by means of the learning competencies. So that's the idea of what or how do we see the concept of standards-based assessment or standards-based education per se. Excuse me. So here is another set of learning competencies where the parts of the code are identified. We have here the subject English EN, and then 9 is week, I mean grade level, and then RC is the domain, and then I meaning quarter, first quarter, 16 meaning that's the competency, and A meaning week. So we have here the codes for that. So technically we have example, um, English 8, so EN 8, and then what domain is that? RC is reading comprehension. If it's listening comprehension, it's LC. If it's viewing comprehension, it's a VC. It's vocabulary development, it's BD. Literature writing, it's WC. Oral language and fluency, it's OL. OLF, and then grammar awareness is GA. Okay? So quarter is double I, three I, or four. It's like it's the Roman numeral lang na 1, 2, 3, 4. And then week is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. And then competency is 1, 2, 2.1, 1.1, and so on. So that's how we read the codes that we are using in the learning competencies. So hopefully we can do unpacking, or we can do seminars or webinars about uh, unpacking the curriculum, kasi we can study this for better uh learning competencies development natin later on when we're writing our learning objectives. So we have here, what do we mean by appropriate targets? Remember the second quality of, or one of the quality of high, or one of the characteristics rather of high quality assessment is appropriate targets. So when you say appropriate targets, from the term appropriate, are these learning targets appropriate to our students? Your level. We have here competencies, objectives, and outcomes are somewhat synonymous. However, according to the American Heritage Dictionary, the learning terms are defined as follows: competency, competence; objective, something worked toward or is driven for, or a goal; and outcome, meaning a natural result or a consequence. So technically, the objective is somehow the same as your object of your competency and is your outcome. However, this is about the 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 idea of what you're going to achieve at the end of the lesson. So what you're going to achieve, that's objective, and what you actually achieve, that's the outcome. How well you perform while achieving the outcome, that's the competency. Okay? Next one, competency is a general statement detailing the desired knowledge and skills of the students graduating from one course or program. It is a very general statement about the larger goals of the course or program. However, objectives can be general or specific. Outcome is a very specific statement that describes exactly what a student will be able to do in some measurable way. And also at the same time, a competency may have several specific learning outcomes. So a course typically contains more outcomes than competencies. Kasi technically, we have in the first quarter, in the first quarter, we have one learning competency, while there are many learning outcomes which are derived from the uh, learning objectives. Mm. All right. So another is objectives, competencies, and outcomes can be written to be described the learning gained by students in individual courses such as course outcomes, or for the program as a whole. We have programmatic outcomes. The main distinction between objectives or competency and a true learning outcome is that, ito yan, learning outcome is written so that it can be measured or assessed. However, competencies are not. Learning outcomes are the basis for an assessment program that focuses on what a student can do either upon completion of a course or upon graduation from a program. So, ibig sabihin, the learning outcomes are the ones we are writing down, while the competencies are the ones we are not measuring. Actually, we are measuring them using the learning outcomes. So we have here examples of learning competencies. The student should be able to use the mass and energy balance for a given food process. Imagine, be able to use. So ibig sabihin, that's a very broad competency. Another one, when we say objectives, understand scope of mass. However, understanding is some kind of not measurable. Okay, not measurable objective. While learning outcomes are this: describe the general principle of mass balances in a steady state system, draw and use process flow diagrams with labels on flow streams for mass balance problems, solve mass balance problems associated with food processing operations, and so on. So tingnan nyo yung mga verbs na ginagamit dyan. Learning outcomes are some kind of objectives, some kind of objectives, but they are perceived at the end of the lesson. What are the characteristics of objective? We have here, you know this already, cognitive, psychomotor, and affective. And we have this conversation or argument na before that you are supposed to be putting or making three objectives in every lesson plans. Every lesson plan, ano? You are supposed to have cognitive, psychomotor, and affective doon. A learning objective is a description of what learner must be able to do upon completion of an educational activity. So it's a well-written learning objective outlines the knowledge, skills, or attitude the learners will gain from educational activity and does so in a measurable way. An effective learning objective should include the following five elements: who will do, who will do, how much or how well, of what, and by when. So there's a lot of things that you can use. However, the mnemonic is SMART here, guys. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bounded can be used to describe the element of a well-written learning objective. But later on, we're going to discuss about the concept of smarter. So ibig sabihin, it's more smart than smart. So it's smarter. Later on, we're gonna talk about that. Another one is, all right. So when you say specific, your goal is a moment here. Your goal is quantifiable to track progress or success. So ibig sabihin, I mean sorry, specific, your goal is direct, detailed, and meaningful. So ibig sabihin, it's very specific, not broad, not too narrow, but it's specific. It's measurable. Your goal is quantifiable to track progress or success. Okay. Another one, attainable. So your goal is realistic and you have the tools and or resources to attain it. So when you say resources, it includes the time, it includes the available instructional materials, it includes the knowledge of the teacher and the knowledge of the teacher to be shared to the students. And when I say relevant naman, your goal aligns with your company mission or say, for example, relevant to you, relevant to the students, which is meaningful to you, where you are located to the community. So, ibig sabihin, these are relevant to the community. Another one is time-based or time-bounded. So, basically, it has to have a deadline to be achieved. It has to have a deadline. So, eto yon yung sinasabi ko kanina na smarter. So, a common use management method recommends defining smarter criteria for organization goals, which is over and above the concept ng smart. Ang pinag-iba lang naman is evaluated, tsaka recognized or rewarded or revisited. Yun lang naman. But then again, as I have said, these are supposed to be over and above the the concept of the SMART characteristics of a learning objective. The only difference is that these are supposed to be evaluated and recognized or rewarded or revisited. What are the learning domains and taxonomies? So technically, you know this already. What are the three domains of learning? Cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. So we have the concept ng HOMOHO, if you still remember or if you're familiar with the HOMOHO. Hands-on, minds-on, hands okay, hearts on, minds on, hands on. So HOMOHO. Hands on, minds on, hands on. Hearts on, rather hearts on, minds on, tsaka hands on. So that's the HOMOHO mnemonics natin for the three domains of learning. We have here the history lang ng Bloom's taxonomy. Meron lang tayong revision dyan conducted by his student ni Anderson from the noun na-revise to verbs and then later on pinag-interchange ang pwesto ng evaluation, synthesis, napuntang create, tsaka evaluate. So from nouns to verbs. And the higher the domain or the higher the domain is, the higher the part of the domain is in the pyramid or in the triangle, the higher order thinking skills the learning objectives are. So ibig sabihin, uh, from application up to creation or apply to create, these are considered as higher order thinking skills. However, understand and remember are just LATs or otherwise known as lower order thinking skills. We have here cognitive. Alam nyo na itong cognitive. Para sa ulo yan. Intellectual skills. Pag affective, ito yung taxonomy naman. We have RR receiving, responding, valuing, organizing, tsaka characterizing. So technically, the idea of affective domain is you cannot respond to something you haven't received as a stimulus. You cannot internalize something you haven't heard, you haven't read, you haven't listened to, you haven't received in the first place. So the acronym here, the taxonomy of educational, I based on the taxonomy of educational objectives. The affective domain is RR-VOC, receiving, responding, valuing, organizing, characterizing. So when we say receiving, that's the part where the students are listening, are reading, or sensing in general, meaning they are receiving the instruction. After they receive the instruction, they are going to respond. So when they're responding, they are in a form of, they could give responses in a form of inquiry or comments or suggestions. Valuing meaning they are giving importance already from the term value or from the word value meaning importance or worth. After valuing, they can organize, they can accept different viewpoints, they can compare and relate with other values. At the same time, after that, they can internalize and beliefs in the values. So, ibig sabihin, um, before some learning activity or some learning experiences can be uh, adopted by the students as part of their learning as affective domain sa taxonomy of educational objectives, they are supposed to receive, respond, value, organize before they could adopt it as part of their characterization. Sa psychomotor naman, from the term psycho, meaning what you know, to motor, meaning you are applying what you know. So we have here perception, set, guided response, mechanism, complete overt response, adaptation, and organization. So technically, this is also another kind of taxonomy which is proposed by Simpson in a way that you cannot create something that you haven't sensed from the very beginning. So perception muna, then set, and then guided response, then mechanism, complete overt response, adaptation, tsaka organization. So when you say perception, it's the part where we're using our senses. When we say set, are we mentally, emotionally, and physically ready to act? Guided response meaning what are we trying to imitate, or are we able to imitate and practice the skills step by step? Pag mechanisms naman, how are we performing? Or can we perform, or the students can perform acts with increasing efficiency, confidence, and proficiency? Complete overt response meaning they can perform automatically without even thinking about it. Adaptation is something that they could adapt as a skill set to meet a problem or situation. And organization, they could create a new pattern for specific situations. So meaning, the concept ng psychomotor domain is that we are supposed to be learning or teaching our students to perform in a way that they can do it they can do it automatically without being aware of doing it. It's like number one, how are we skill is example ng skill. um Using spoon and fork or using chopsticks. Okay, so something that you have to do first there is you have to sense how paano I mean how you have to sense, you have to see, you have to feel what spoon and forks are, or simply what is or how does uh, a chopstick look like. Yeah? So, kailangan ma-perceive mo muna yon. And then, are you physically ready to use them? Okay? if you are physically ready to use them, technically, later on, by practice, sabi nga dyan sa guided response, by practice, step by step, you can learn how to use it. And then by mechanism, you can use it with ease, you can use it with confidence, and you are proficient in using chopsticks. And after that, when you say complete overt response, it's in a way that you can use it without, without even thinking that you can use it already or you know how to use it. It's like your second nature na pagkakain kayo, automatic na ang spoon ay pupuntang kanan, ng kaliwa ay ang fork ay pupuntang kaliwa and vice versa. Okay? And the concept ng adaptation naman is like it's a normal thing na. It's automatically part of your system in meeting problems in every situation. And organization technically is you can use it for other specific situations. You can look for patterns where you can use it for other specific situations. Next, we have alternative to Bloom's taxonomy. We have the solo taxonomy or the structure of observed learning outcome. Ano bang pinag-iba nito? This is focusing on uh, describing levels of increasing complexity in learners' understanding of subjects. So it is both trainers and learners in understanding the learning process, where it consists of 5 levels in order of understanding. Here are the 5 levels. Number 1, the learner doesn't understood the lesson and use a pre-structural match. So ibig sabihin, first level ng solo is pre-structural level. It's followed by uni-structural, meaning the learner response only focuses on one relevant aspect. So, ibig sabihin ng uni means one, multi meaning multi-structural, meaning the learner's response focuses on several relevant aspects but they are treated independently. So, multi-structural, several aspects but treated independently. Relational, meaning all these separate structures are supposed to be treated uh to like joining together as like you are joining all these parts together to form a one single subject or some kind of learning that you can understand, you can adequately measure. And the last part is extended abstract. So the extended abstract is somewhere the learner is now able to create new ideas based on his mastery of the subject. So first stage is, or first level is pre-structural. It's followed by unistructural, and then multi-structural, and then relational, and then extended abstract. Those are the 5 levels of the solo taxonomy. Next, we have here the solo taxonomy pala, example ng uni, ng pre, ng uni, ng multi, relational, tsaka ng extended abstracts. So, verbs, Mrs. Point, pag pre-structural, identify, do simple, procedure, unistructural yon. Multi is enumerate, describe, list, combine, do algorithms. Pag relational, compare, contrast, explain causes, analyze, relate. So may concept diyan ng increasing complexity pa rin ito from quantitative phase to qualitative phase pero ang konsepto ng solo taxonomy. So when you say qualitative phase, these are something that cannot be measured by or cannot be put into numbers anymore. But it's more on theorizing, generalizing, hypothesizing, and reflecting. So again, there are 5 levels of taxonomy ng solo. We have the pre-structural, unistructural. We also have multi-structural. We have another one, the relational, tsaka the extended abstract. So these are the stages, different stages of solo taxonomy. Ano? So sa pre-structural, I'm not sure about this subject, sabi niya. Sa unistructural, I have one idea about this subject. Pag multi-structural, I have several ideas. Pag relational, I can link my ideas together to see the big picture. And pag extended abstract level naman, I can look at these ideas in a new and different ways, sabi niya. So from the term from the idea of pre-structural to extended abstract, I think this is the last or the most exciting or the very simple way to explain and describe the solo taxonomy from pre-structural to extended abstract.